Wanted to move to China. We'll mention a tweet from the president because he just came out and said that Apple will not be given tariff waivers or relief for Mac Pro parts that are made in China, making them in the USA. No tariffs. Larry, how do things stand right now between the U.S. and China in terms of the negotiations?
Well, let's see. There again, as I said, they're going to meet next week in Shanghai. Secretary Mnuchin, Ambassador Lighthizer. I wouldn't expect any grand deal. I think talking to our negotiators, they're going to kind of reset the stage and hopefully go back to where the talks left off last May. We were doing well, no deal yet, but still on the structural issues regarding IP theft, forced transfer of technology, cyber interference, trade and non-trade, tariff barriers and so forth. Certainly the enforcement mechanisms. But if we were 90% there with 10% to go, I call it the 7-yard line, I think our negotiators want to go back to that spot. And again, let me repeat the very, very important note that we strongly expect the Chinese to follow through goodwill and just helping the trade balance with large-scale purchases of U.S. agriculture products and services. So, you know, I think
Larry, have they given any?
Sorry?
Have they given any indication, Larry, the Chinese, that they're willing to go back to that level, to that place that you just discussed, where they will consider yet again those key concessions?
I'm gonna let those talks unfold next week. I'm not going to predict. I'm not going to evaluate. I want to see how it goes. I've been engaged in this issue now for a year and a half. I've been down here. Sometimes what you hope happens doesn't happen. Sometimes your greatest fears are not realized. I'm going to play this from the optimistic side because it's inbred in my body and soul. But we will see how those fellas do. We will see.
Can you give us any sense, Larry, of the likelihood of more tariffs, either on Chinese imports, on European auto imports? I mean, it's kind of an administration where that could happen at any time. So what would you tell market participants about the likelihood of more tariffs coming?
Well, look, the president, again, the basic thrust of his policy is to lower trade barriers. That's always been the basis of his policy. In an ideal world, zero tariffs, zero non-tariff barriers, zero subsidies. He has, as you know, been willing to negotiate on a number of fronts, including tariffs where necessary. He's not afraid to use tariffs. It's part of the negotiations. It's part of the discussions. Most of that economic burden, by the way, in our judgment, has fallen on China. Now, I'm not going to predict the future. I think, again, in a common sense way, if the U.S.-China talks go well, then we would not expect new tariffs. If they do not go well, the president has indicated that the tariff tool is at his disposal, and he might use it. I say might. Depends on how the talks go. Regarding auto tariffs in Europe, all that is on hold for a good many months. But I will say one thing about Europe. We are very concerned that our friends in France are going to impose a digital tax on the big American tech companies. We think that's absolutely wrong. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is engaged in negotiations through the OECD to solve the issue of taxes and the new economy and the new tech economy and so forth. We are unhappy that France is going to go ahead with some kind of digital tax. And Ambassador Lighthizer has begun, at the president's request, he has begun a 301 action. We filed the paperwork. Hearings, I believe, will be held in August. And then it'll be up to the president to see if he wants to follow through with retaliation. I think the digital tax hike from France is a very, very big mistake. I'm sorry to see it.